इस्लाम एट अ ग्लांस इज ब्रॉट टू यू बाय अमेरिका में मुसलमानों की नुमाइंदा तंजीम इस्लामिक सर्कल ऑफ नॉर्थ अमेरिका समाजी शऊर से आगाही हो या इस्लामी तर्ज जिंदगी का दर्स इक्ना ने हमेशा अपना मौसर किरदार अदा किया। कार खैर में हमारा साथ दीजिए। फोन 718-658-1199।
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillahi ahda wassalatu wassalamu ala nabiyya ba'da. Dear viewers, today the topic we have at hand is a vast topic, and it will be a difficult task to cover every aspect of that topic in this small span of time. So we need to find a way to just talk about some important parts only. The topic is the assertive secularism, democracy in Islam. Secularism is a hallmark of the Western civilization these days, and they, as one of the English historian says, that there are the Western civilization of today has its link with the Hellenic civilization, which has its basis in the Roman civilization. So there is a continuum with some changes. It came to the West. So what we are going to do, there are, for democracy or for secularism in today's world, there are multiple examples with a lot of variations. But we are not going to be able to cover all that. As I said, it's a vast topic, but they are important if somebody wants to go into detail and look at the specifics. For example, France, what happened in France, what is their history, how they come to this point where they are a secular democratic state, so to say, and United States or other places. So, but we are not going to go into these specific examples, but we will lump all this Western civilization together, and then also at the other hand we will see the differences and commonalities with the Islamic civilization. So that will help us understand the situation today. So first, understand there are two major differences that we have in these both civilization. For both of them, Arnold Toynbee said that they are the existing civilization. I mentioned about the Hellenic civilization and their descendants as Western, and Islamic civilization, on which he said that since its inception 1400 years ago, it continued to exist in the world, and it saw its rise and fall, but it continued. It comes back, and it is a current civilization as he mentions. So, as I said, there are two major differences that we need to consider. In case of the Western civilization, which has its basis in Hellenic civilization, which has a close connection with Christianity. With Christianity, the situation is that the Christianity over the years since Jesus, alayhi salam, may peace be upon him, it has changed a lot. So it is not the original message of Jesus that he brought, which we believe is about the same as Islam, because they both came from the same sources, has been changed over the years. And the message has been altered, the things have been taken out, has been introduced into that and all that. So according to the need of the hour, we can say the Christianity keep changing. This is one thing, and that didn't happen in Islam. In Islam, there are two sources, Quran and Sunnah, that remain the main sources for all deductions, all later, what we call ijtihad. It doesn't mean that Islam is static. It is dynamic. It changes, but we always refer to the main sources, and from there we deduce whatever is appropriate and for our times or our place and our particular environment. So it also changed, but not from the basis but Christianity actually changed a lot. And then not only that Christianity changed, but one more thing that happened a few hundred years ago, at the time when Europe was coming out from the Dark Ages, they call Renaissance of Europe. At that time, there was a feeling in the public that the religion, which was mainly controlled by the Roman Catholic, the clergy, the church was controlled by Roman Catholic Christianity, they developed a hatred against that because of they used to think of Christianity or the religion as being an impediment to their progress. And it was a reality that the Christianity of that time, the clergy of that time, would not let the people think freely and move into various spheres of secular sciences and social sciences to develop. So it was like an impediment, a block that you cannot do. Even not only in case of secular sciences, but also in case of Bible. The people were not allowed to read the Bible even, because for that they said you have to have such qualification, you have to know the language, you have to do so. This Bible became just a property of the church, and it was not available for the people. They just have to follow whatever the priest or the clergy tells us. So there was a dissentment, and there was a kind of a divorce that happened between the public and the church and the Protestant movement and all that. But in the end, what came out is that they decided that church has nothing to do with the state, church has nothing to do with our lives. It is a voluntary thing. It should stay inside the church. Or it's a personal matter if you follow it or not. So that's where the secularism developed, that we need to be secular so we can handle the things that we need for progress, keeping the religion on the side. But in case of Islam, that is the other thing which is different, that in our grain is that we cannot prosper, we cannot progress until we keep our relation with our religion. That is a proven fact in the Islamic history. Whenever the Islam, see the time of the glory of Islam, at that time in the Muslim universities, Islamic university, which were the very renowned institutions of that time, and the Christians of Europe and the Jews, they used to go there, to Baghdad, to name Granada, and all these places they used to go for learning. And in those institutions, the first year used to be teaching of ethics. And that ethics was based on Quran and Sunnah. Even whoever you are, even if you have come from Europe, you don't know Islam, but the ethics you have to learn. And the Muslims who learned that ethics, that mindset that developed through those teachings, they then went to the secular areas, and then they became the best of the scientists, the best of the social scientists, mathematicians and geographers and physicists and chemists and all that. This has happened when we were close to our religion. And then when the colonial period came, and slowly we started following the ways of the dominant culture, the colonizers. That's where we started going into the days of our degeneration, I should say. And so that is the difference, that for us, being close to our religion, staying within the boundaries of religion, wherever it is required, is a better situation rather than just divorcing from it completely, as it worked in case of the Western civilization. So keep that in mind. That's how we can understand that why secularism is so dear to the West, and it is not it is being forced into them, as in the topic it said, assertive secularism. It's being asserted, it's being pushed into, because domination of Western societies or Western civilization on the world, because they are powerful militarily, economically, they are powerful nations. So they are trying to push that on the Muslims as well. But it doesn't work. It doesn't add up together with Islam. So secularism now, within the Islamic system, there is as I said, there's no hindrance, there is no stopping of people going to the various areas of secular knowledge and studying and excelling in that. Sharia, which is being targeted a lot these days in the West, and this name Sharia is being put on the internet and everywhere else as if being the demon, and that they being the most dangerous thing of today. Sharia is just a small part of Islam. It's not total Islam. It's the legal system. It is some laws and legislations that covers the Sharia. The Sharia is about. But Islam is much more than that. There is a lot that is not defined in Sharia. So much so that the famous reformer and scholar of Islam, Taqiyuddin Ibn Taymiyyah, he says, and he is very strong in his feeling about Quran and Sunnah, and he says that the Quran and Sunnah does not define everything, every little thing. There is a lot of space for us to work on. It's all, you can call it a secular part of your life. And not only the secular sciences, but even within the religious framework, you will see that Sharia will tell you certain things, certain boundaries, and within that, you have a lot to play with and come up with solutions. And Prophet ﷺ, in one of the incident when he says, and that explains it all very nicely, that when he gave the advice to some people for grafting of some plant on the other, and as a result, the result was not very good, and they lost the crop for that reason. And then when they were told Prophet ﷺ, he said, this is your area of expertise, you should make your decisions, whatever is appropriate for that. This was just my advice, and I'm not an expert in that area. So he left from this incident, and from this hadith, we came to know that there are things that you should do by yourself. You don't have to go back and look for, yes, there are guidance, little bit of guidance, but not specifics are mentioned in Sharia, in Quran and Sunnah, that you have to do by yourself. Like another incident when it happened, when Maaz ibn Jabal, one of the Sahabi of Prophet ﷺ, he was sending him to Yemen, making him a governor over there, and he asked him how you will make the decisions over there. And he said that from the book of Allah. And then he says that if you don't find it in there, then he said from the Sunnah of you or Prophet ﷺ. And then he said if you don't find in there, and then he said that I will do ijtihad, and I will not leave any corner, and I'll open everything, and I will make ijtihad and make decision. And Prophet ﷺ just endorsed that idea. So the doors of ijtihad and qiyas and ijma are open in Islam, and it is, that's why it is a dynamic religion. I said in the beginning that according to the time it will adjust, and it will make changes at whatever is required. Now coming to the other part of democracy, in the title we say that assertive secularism. We already talked about secularism, how we are different, how we cannot, what are the limits of secularism. We are secular in the sense that we accommodate, and from the very beginning, from the state of Medina, Islam has been accommodating other religions and other tendencies within its boundaries, whether it is the state of Medina, where even later on the Ottoman times, when the Jews were persecuted around the world, where they were coming to the Ottoman area and settling down, where there was an acceptance, there was an accommodation. I already told you about the universities where they used to come from all over the world and study. At that time, that was the time of glory. So, having said that, the democracy, when we are talking about democracy, and I said that for that also there are various models. I was first see what Socrates, who is a philosopher of the time when this concept of democracies was first introduced. in Greece, and he said about democracy in his writing, and he's writing to someone, and he's saying that if you are in a ship with a lot of people in there, who you would like to be the captain of the ship, who you would like to steer the ship. And he said that you will definitely want the best person who knows how to steer the ship should take the role of the leader or the captain. And he said in democracy, there's a possibility that you may select a leader who is not capable of handling that job. So he may not be the best person. So he says further that for the democracy to work, the people who are going to elect or who are going to select those leaders have to be trained, have to qualify to do those things. So his concept, what Socrates was saying, are not very far from what Islam has in its system. And again, it is not a A, B, C, D. You have to do that. The political system of Islam is not like that. It's quite open, and it's adjustable from time to time. But the concept of consultation, of shura, is there. So that is the basis of what you can say democracy. What democracy is, that you have to consult. Not a single person, not one person is going to make the decision, but it has to be a consultative decision. And Prophet ﷺ, although he was getting revelations from God, he always preferred this way. And then an example is the time of the Battle of Uhud, when his idea was to stay in Medina and defend the city from the attacking tribes of Quraysh. But the Sahaba made a consultation, and they said that it's better that we leave the city and we go and stop them at a distance from Medina. Prophet ﷺ, when he came to know, he changed his own idea of opinion, and he said that I'll go with whatever had been the result of consultation, although the results has been disastrous. Muslims lost this war, lost a number, 70 people got killed there. It was a big number from that time's standards. But he accepted the consultative decision over his own, and he just gave us one trend that we should follow. That after Prophet ﷺ, there is no one who is wiser than him, who is being guided by Allah directly. So everyone has to follow that thing. It's not that everyone will have to bow down to the wisdom of the leader, but everyone has to contribute and come up with the decision. So this is the basic theme of democracy is in there, but that what I just referred to Socrates is a very important thing, that in the Islamic democratic system there should be a way of training the people, and training not only the people, also the selection of the people. They have to have certain attribute. They should not have certain it is, even in the Western democracies, they say that there are certain things, if it is present in the candidate, he cannot run for election. Similarly, in Islam, the standards may be different, because I just mentioned to you the differences that we have from our experiences. I mentioned France, for example. In France, I want to say this with respect to secularism and democracy, that in France, their experience through which they came to this level, through the revolution and then revolt against the church and all those things that happened over there, and now they claim that they are a secular democratic nation. But what happened in 2004 over there? In 2004, they passed a resolution that the Muslim women, Muslim girls are not allowed to wear the headscarf in the school, in the public schools. And do you know that there is another very interesting statistic about France, that 80% of the funding of Catholic schools is from the government sources. So the Muslim girls who are not allowed to wear the hijab in the public schools, now they go to Catholic schools, because there is no problem. You can wear the hijab. The Catholics wear hijab because the way Mary used to dress or the way the nuns used to dress was like that. So they follow that. So you see the dichotomy there. You see the double standards there. On one hand, you are secular. You want to create a space for everybody, but then you are discriminatory, as if, and even in US, the similar things, although it didn't come to that level that you cannot wear hijab and things like that, but there are things that you are being discriminated just because you are Muslim. The president is saying the Muslims should not be allowed to enter the United States anymore. What can be more dangerous statement than this? So discrimination on where you on the face of it you say that we are secular, we are democratic, but you go into these areas and do all kind of discrimination. That is not a good situation. Democracy again. So Shura is there, and democratic systems which are available to Muslims in some countries, because it's as I said, the dominant culture and dominant system of the world always has been an attractive thing for the rest of the world. So the Muslim countries also tried in the past, many of them, but others are still the dictatorships and kingdoms and all that. But then it is increasing. The trend of democracy is increasing in the Muslim world, which is good. But the thing is that we, the Islam-loving people, have to go into those, take part in these democratic processes. Yes, there may be need for reformation of the system. That need is not only felt in the Muslim countries, but even in the advanced countries like US. The whole system, the democratic system, has become corrupt. That happens to any man-made system when you don't give any area to what has been revealed, what is coming from Allah and His instructions. As we say in Islam, we have to go back and refer to Quran and Sunnah for everything. But when you do your own job and say Allah has nothing to do, church has nothing to do with this state, it is separation of church and state, and you devise your own system, then it has to come to a collapse. And that is what is happening with democracy today. It has been taken over by interest groups and the media and the people who have money. They just manipulate the elections. Even the other countries are taking part in the elections of, for example, the powerful nations like United States. So what to say about, and United States and other countries, do you think that they don't do that in the third world countries and Islamic countries? This is not democracy. This is hypocrisy. This is, in the name of democracy, you're not letting the people choose their own, the people of their own choice. What we see in Algeria, it was a democratically elected, people in 90s, 95 or 93, I think. They were not allowed to take over the government and run the business and be in the open area, but they were forced out. And the France again was on the forefront of not letting it happen, and US was also involved in that. They didn't support the democratic system in the Islamic world, whether it's Algeria, whether it is Egypt, whether it is Pakistan, anywhere. The influence, and they try to use this media, the power of money and influences to corrupt the whole system. And then the same thing, the chickens are coming to roost, and it is happening in the United States. The Brexit in the UK has been influenced. 85 million people through these Facebooks and WhatsApps and all these. They have been tracked, and they were influenced after getting their profiles, that how it can be manipulated. All the elections in the West or East are being manipulated these days. So this is the situation of democracy. Again, for Muslims, secularism or democracy, we have a secular part to us. We accept, we accommodate everybody. But it has to go back and see in Quran and Sunnah from where we get the guidance and fix our things. Then it is going to work well. We cannot divorce it. It doesn't work with us. Similar thing with democracy. We can adopt it, but we have to reform it, Islamize it before we use it. अक़ूलु क़ौली हाज़ा वस्तग़फ़िरुल्लाह ली व लकुम व लिसाइरिल मुअमिनीन वल मुअमिनात। अस्सलामु अलैकुम व रहमतुल्लाह।
इस्लाम एट अ ग्लास वॉज ब्रॉट टू यू बाय अमेरिका में मुसलमानों की नुमाइंदा तंजीम इस्लामिक सर्कल ऑफ नॉर्थ अमेरिका। समाजी शऊर से आगाही हो या इस्लामी तर्ज जिंदगी का दर्स, इक्ना ने हमेशा अपना मौसर किरदार अदा किया। कार खैर में हमारा साथ दीजिए। फ़ोन 718-658-1199।